Hi guys, welcome back. Hannah, this is Patrick, and we're here to record our episode 2.
Episode 2, that's right. And this one's kind of a little bit more serious, a little bit more of a look at how did we get to where we were when things started to go a little bit off the rails a little bit. And to address some things that we thought, we kind of came into this marriage with some preconceived notions.
Yes, we are going to talk specifically about what we dealt with, what we went through with our relationship. In no way do we ever want anybody to become fearful or paranoid with their own relationships.
Right.
This is strictly just to give information about what we went through and
Right.
what God was victorious in our lives.
To give some insight,
Yeah.
and this is no way, shape, or form to make you run off and suspect your spouse of doing these things.
No
This
finger
is,
pointing.
No, this is not that. This is just to say, well, if they can warn us of these pitfalls, we can be more clear of what to avoid.
Be aware.
Yeah. So, I think we talked about it before when we said we came in with the whole
Preconceived.
but the wrong perspective of marriage.
Yeah.
We had to figure out what our marriage would look like, and I think when I came into this marriage, I kind of thought that my whole idea of marriage would be like a TV sitcom.
Oh yeah.
And that was only because growing up in as a young kid. I saw my folks' marriage kind of ended in to me it looked like very abruptly,
Oh yeah. You had said
because-
something like that.
Well, yeah, and it was because, it seemed like they just had this one major meltdown, that we were coming back from church and, it seemed like my mom just asked a simple question and then quickly the atmosphere shift. Now,
Wow.
my folks have been very good at keeping stuff behind the scenes. They
Right.
never really argued in front of me and my
So
brother.
you didn't see like any of that before all of
No,
this?
we didn't see anything.
Yeah.
They were very good at trying to not keep that, as far as like arguing in front of us.
Keep you out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, when that happened, to me it was like, where did that come from?
Right.
So.
And how old were you when this happened?
I had to be at least around like close to about maybe 9 or 10.
Okay.
Around that time. So, it was to me that was traumatic.
Yeah.
Because the very thing that I thought was going to be there forever now was broken apart.
Mm-hmm.
But so it was no wonder I took to television as an
Okay.
escape. For me, I thought that, if I can model my life like after, like Family Matters,
That was a good show.
the Tanners.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
What part of that were you thinking you were going to model your relationship after? Like, obviously you weren't going to live in the same exact home and have the same dialogue, but what part of it?
well, maybe the same exact home.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
But, I think for me it was, how they dealt with things in their lives, how at the end of the day, no matter what they argued about,
Yeah.
they came back, everybody was lovey-dovey, there
After
was
30 minutes were over, everybody was cool.
after that 30-minute time slot, everything just ended with hugs and kisses, and you just laughed it off at the end.
Right.
Because everyone had their own laugh track, so you could laugh at the little things that we thought that, those little issues that came up in their lives,
Yeah.
And sometimes those laugh track would laugh at the things that was, that seemed very, very serious to them, but they were actually petty.
Yes.
So
in your
Yeah.
mind, so I'm looking at this little kid watching TV, and he's looking at it and he's like, "Those are the easiest arguments I've ever heard of. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna be okay."
well, I don't know.
Is that what you were thinking?
I don't know if I understood
Okay.
but
But you had the concept. You're like, that was easy. They worked that out. Good. It's over. It's done.
Well, what I saw was they had a problem. They came to the understanding of why it got there, and somebody maybe misunderstood.
Yeah.
and they came together, talked it out, then the sad song would play in, and they would be like, oh. And then, they kiss and hug.
Everything would be over and done with and forgotten.
Yep. So,
Okay.
Yeah. What was your take on that?
It wasn't quite TV-ish.
Okay.
But even before, now that I think about it, it's a little reality show-ish, I guess. I don't know. You tell me. So in the family, my parents did argue. Mm-hmm. They didn't hide it like your parents did. Right. And that probably comes from, I come from a very loud family, full of women who are very opinionated and strong and independent. So when they got into arguments, that was never really hidden from me. If it was one of them trying to hide it from me, the other one wouldn't let them.
Right.
But that was my perspective of it.
Right.
I think what I thought I wanted, or what I saw would happen is, because I'm a daddy's girl.
Okay. Yep.
And so daddy took care of me.
Yep.
Not that I was spoiled. I wasn't spoiled. I work very hard for what I want, and I believe in hard work. But he did take care of me. He did protect me. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to get married, and the guy I married will just replace my dad. He's just going to take care of me. He's just going to do everything for me, pay all the bills, worry about all the responsibilities. I just get to spend the money dad makes and shop and sit at home and buy nice clothes and be taken care of. So, and there wasn't a whole lot of partnership that I saw. Maybe there was, I just didn't see a lot of it. So I didn't understand what a helpmate was. And so I didn't grasp the concept of, you come in this together, you work at this together, you do life together. So I think a lot of it, I was a little blown out of the water, because I'm like, well, aren't you just supposed to do that? Why do I need to be a part of that? Right. So that was my unfortunate perspective. Right. And we did get married very young.
We did.
Early 20s.
Yeah.
And
we were in our early 20s, and we had some people that, outside of our own folks, we kind of looked in and pulled on for wisdom. But we didn't realize then that not everyone that was in a what seemed to be a functional relationship or successful relationship.
That's good.
Had
just because they were still together doesn't mean that they were successful at having a.
It just seemed that way on the surface. Yeah. But they would also give us some, looking back now, you'd think about, man, that makes no sense.
Oh, you're talking about advice.
They would give us some advice that was just like, looking back now, it's like, no. But
we took it then.
But back then we took it because, it seemed like, well, they look successful.
Yeah, right.
So, it must be true. And so one of them, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I agree with you. When you see their life and the way they interact with each other, you're like, they're so awesome. They're like the perfect couple. They look great. I'm going to model myself after them.
Yeah.
But you didn't go home with them. You didn't see what happened behind the scenes. And you honestly don't know what they're doing at home with each other. And it's so easy to pretend and to put on a face for some people. So I agree with that. I do.
Yeah, and when some of those advice would be something like, happy wife, happy life, and
how many times have we heard that? How many?
It's still being said to this.
I need a dime for every time I heard that, because we would have $1 million house right now.
That'd be wealthy.
Yes.
Every time I heard that saying. But I mean, you hear that saying, and you look back and you think about, well, it must be true, because it seemed like their relationship is together, and
some people still think that.
And the other one is, no matter what she says.
Yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
Yes, dear. Yes, dear. To her.
Yeah, always. It's just yes, dear. Whatever you say, dear. And it's one of those things where, like, okay, well, if it worked in their marriage, it might work in mine.
Right, because it looked like it did.
Right.
Because maybe one spouse would tell the other one what to do, and the other one wouldn't have a say. So I think that's a part of it. The other one would just keep them themselves. Just to make peace in the marriage. And again, that goes with, there's a lot of relationships and marriages out there that are putting on a face and don't deal with the issues. And not saying that your marriage can't make it work and be successful, but you got to be honest with each other.
Right. And not to say that you're not there to make her happy. But, you know...
I would love for you to make me happy at all times.
Well, we try. We try. You know,
you do very good.
We're not going to be 100%, but, you know, we're going to hit like at least 95.
That's good. That's a good number.
100,
That's a good number. But if we're truly helpmates, then if I'm in the wrong with something, I want you to... A good friend is going to tell you when you're wrong. So if I'm doing something and I'm wrong, I'm going to want you to be like, did you really think about that? Was that something that really we should be doing or should be purchasing or should be buying at this time? So I need that and you need that. And that's how we help each other. So just saying yes or just always pleasing the other person, is that really a relationship? Right.
And I think that's somewhere where things kind of went off tracks for us, you know.
Yeah.
At some point, you know, the yes dears didn't add up anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because then the husband feels like, well, what about me?
Or the other person.
What about my happiness? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, it becomes one-sided.
Yeah.
You know? And at that point, you get to a point where you're so frustrated of trying to do everything to please the other person that it comes to the point where it's like, man, I feel left out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So those things start to show. The cracks start to show. And then the trust starts to become an issue.
It does, because now you wonder if you can even tell your true opinion to this person, or if you do have something that you want to say, advice, growing with each other. You're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that because they're just gonna, number one, they're gonna judge me, or maybe they're gonna shut me down.
Right.
And I think that kind of happened in our relationship. I think because I was a daddy's girl, we were so incredibly close, and I love my dad. I'm very much like my dad, and I think the problem was I didn't, for me, I think I didn't detach from that. And I think I would take a lot of my dad's advice and his opinion, sometimes over yours. And I think you wanting to please me and, you know, happy wife, happy life, I don't think you said a lot to counteract that kind of.
No, I think what ends up happening there too is that, you know, again, we got married very young.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure out what our marriage looks like, but the parents are there to kind of be like a guide,
right?
You know, for you to lean on for advice. But the problem comes in when we don't learn how to separate and then depend on each other. The Bible talks about, you know, when a man leaves his mother and father and cleaves to his wife.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing for the woman in the relationship. Right. They've got to cleave to her husband. And the problem is when we don't learn how to leave and cleave to each other. Right. We're still, okay, well, we're married, but we're still like, we're still attached to our parents in a sense.
We're reliant.
We're reliant
on them. You know? I think that did happen a lot because obviously we've discussed before, because we've gone through all of this in detail, talking with each other, getting all this out in the open. I do think I did a lot of that because I felt like I wasn't sure if I could trust you. Right. I guess, and I forgot to remember that we're in this together. Right. We do this together. We take advice from others, and then we sort it out. We discuss, and we make the decision together. Right. And I think I missed that. I think I missed that mark. But I know that affected you also by making those choices.
It did. And like I said, it became a factor of, well, is she ever going to take what I say as, you know, value?
Right.
You know.
Right.
Because, you know, granted, your dad has been through life. You know, he's done things.
All of our parents have.
All of them have. And, you know, you're just trying to figure this thing out. Because when you're dating, you know, we date and put our best face forward, and what it is, it's more like just the courtship stage, you know what I'm saying? So now we're married, we're moved in, now we have to figure out, okay, how do we do life together?
Right.
You know, so you know, there would be times where, you know, you have to reach out to your dad on certain things, you know, and I would have to reach out to my parents about certain things. You know, I was a little bit more closer to mom because we you know, in the divorce we stayed with my mom mostly. Not that I wasn't close with my dad, but mom was just right there. You know? So it was more easier for me to reach out and say, hey, I'm struggling in this situation. What do I do? You know, but which is, again, it's not a bad thing if because parents are there to be a guide to help you. But when you solely rely on them, then they feel like they have the authority to intervene and interfere with your relationship.
And I think that's very common in society today, where parents or other relatives do interject into your marriage or do interject into your relationship strictly because they think they're just helping. And advice is always good, but in a marriage, that should be a part of the bond that you guys create, the trust that you guys create. You know what, I'm not so sure about this, but you have convinced me that, you know, no matter what, if this works or doesn't work, that we're in it together. And that you're going to help me make this work no matter what. And that's where that trust builds, and that's where that connection comes as well. So it's not just the intimacy, but it's also the trust. And so when that's not there, you know, things start to fall apart. You know, for me, it was, you know, well, was she ever going to trust what I say? You know, over what dad says. You know? I may not be, you know, years of experience, but you know, I may want to feel like I know something here and there, and sometimes
let me go out and make the mistake, and then you can say, see, that didn't work, but give me that opportunity.
But and not rub it in their face. I told you that was not gonna work. Maybe I did that once or twice. But I agree. You know, some of that part is growing together, and I know everybody gets married at different stages in their life. And like I said, we were really young, but it would have been nice had that started from the beginning. And so we did struggle with that, and I know that there are some other couples that do struggle with that even to this day. So I know that that's the point we want to make. The things that we did struggle with, the things that did lead to and the unfortunate things that happened in our early marriage, that we don't want anybody else to have to go through that, and we want people to be the wiser of it, because that can lead to other things.
And those things, as they take a toll on you, things just get progressively worse from there. I think at some point, you know, emotionally, I just began to shut down, you know, and that's a bad place to be.
Building walls upon walls.
Building up walls against the person you're supposed to do life with. Then it becomes like we're together, but you're alone. Both of you.
And that's a horrible feeling to be in this room with this person, and you wake up and you look at this person, you're like, I see somebody there, but I don't feel like there is somebody there. And you become disconnected, and that's a lot of the reasons I think the word talks about don't let your anger, the sun go down on your anger, because you build up these walls, and it makes them even that much more difficult to tear them down. Because it's the thickness of it keeps growing and growing and growing, because you just keep offending and offending. And within a marriage, you know, you could look at somebody and not think about them, but in the marriage, when you see somebody, you just start to resent them, because of what you know that they've done, and that anger starts to build.
And mind you, you have to wake up to this person every single day. So it's, you know, you don't want to wake up every day and it's like, oh Lord, I can't stand to see her. You know, you
just want to kick him out of the bed.
You don't want to do that, you know. But you know, it's supposed to be a situation where you wake up and everything that you've been dealing with has been squashed the night before. But we didn't know how to do that. You know, we didn't know how to come together and say, hey, listen, this affected me. We need to kind of like talk about this. And part of that was when I shut down emotionally, I didn't want to talk about anything. You know, I didn't want to talk about anything.
I couldn't squeeze anything out of you.
Nothing.
No.
I was like, no, we don't need to talk about it. Just forget about it.
Not only that, I think you also wanted me to believe that you were okay because you didn't want me to continually ask, like, is everything good?
Right.
Because you didn't want to open up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because, again, at that point, emotionally, emotions were shut,
Yeah.
So, but we realized that as time progressed, and as we were going through these things and going through our changes and going through our
it was a progression.
It was a progression.
Because it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
Yeah.
And, as stuff started to come to the surface and we addressed these things, we started to realize had we had known this earlier, we could have avoided a lot of the things we fell into.
Yeah. Heartache.
A lot of the heartache.
Tears.
And so,
frustration.
Yeah.
Screaming, hollering. Yeah.
So, it's really good to know that we are at the point where we can look back and say, you know what, we learned from those moments.
Yeah.
And going forward, we address things with each other. We don't let the sun go down in our anger anymore.
No, we make up. That's fun times. I'm just saying, it's married couples. It's good.
Yeah, make up times. But I think as we go along in our marriage, we realize had we had someone like us when we were younger to speak into our lives, it would have been one of those things where we're able to avoid these pitfalls. And plus, and this is something I'm probably going to address with just the men, about opening up to brothers, who are there in your corner, like true brothers who are there in your corner to kind of like,
accountability.
To get some accountability, but also when you harbor things, you're just holding on to things until they bubble over and then they come out in the most outlandish ways. So, and then it forces you to do the most ridiculous stuff, and some of those things nearly costed our marriage.
Yeah.
So,
I would have been grateful for that back then.
Oh, and like I said, there was some issues within me I had to deal with trusting other people.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we'll definitely address in another video.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we just wanted to kind of open up and bare our hearts about this particular issue, because there, a lot of young couples come into marriage, and maybe veteran couples too. They stumble across these things, and some of them tend to turn a blind eye to it, and ignore it, or and some of the younger ones, they don't even know what they're up against.
Right.
They're just getting ready to jump into this thing. But take it from us, we've learned a whole lot,
and about ourselves. I have to say,
yeah.
I think we have learned the most.
Yeah.
We could possibly learn about each other. The little things, the big things. Like when I'm talking to you and I get loud and feisty, it's not because I'm angry. I love to get loud and feisty. That just runs in our family, and when he's, cool and calm, it's not that he's, trying to be quiet. He's just a little more reserved. So when he wouldn't, do that pushback with that, verbalization, I was like, is there something the matter? He's like, no, I just don't talk like that. You do talk like that. So we have definitely learned from each other. Yeah. I would say we have definitely rubbed off on each other, because I have pulled back on the feistiness a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And he has definitely become more verbal about his opinion and his...
Right. And because what I've come to know is that you want to hear my heart.
I do. I always have.
Yeah. It's just that, silence to a woman means you don't care. And that
why aren't you talking? Why aren't you saying something?
That has come through just trial and error, my friends, trial and error. But I have learned to be a little bit more vocal and to speak up when things are, when I believe that, hey, no, I don't believe we should be doing this.
And sometimes I don't like it, yes. But I'm respectful I'm respectful, and I trust you so much that I allow you to be that authority in my life, that lead in this family, that head of this family. So I do allow that. I do appreciate it, and sometimes I will walk away and throw a temper tantrum, and then I'll come back and be like, "But you were right."
Right.
And you do the same for me, respectfully.
Right.
You do.
Right. So, guys, we just wanted to share this with you. We will be posting again.
Yep.
Just make sure you pay attention to the links at
Yep.
the bottom. Subscribe. I know it's going to be down here somewhere.
Usually down here, or here, or here.
One of these places. Just click on the subscribe button, get all the updates of when our new video is going to come, and follow us on social media.
Yep.
And
also email us if you have any questions, or you guys have any subjects that you're thinking about. Let us know. We probably will address it, or if not, we may add it to the list of videos that we're going to be doing. But we're excited to do this for you guys. We hope this is reaching out to somebody and helping somebody set them free.
Amen.
And so we can't wait for the next one. You guys take care.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.